phones today. So since we're talking about telephones and phones and what they do, I thought it would be a really good idea to bring in someone that knows a little bit about telephones. Actually, he knows a lot. So since Sanjay's out, I scoured the earth. I looked hither and thither for someone to join me on the show tonight. And my worthy replacement for Sanjay tonight, his name is Matt Galini. Matt's the owner-operator of Minter iPhone and Repair, located in the Polo Building on Center Street and Minter Avenue. I'm sorry, on Center Street in Minter. Center Street is also known as Route 615. So if you have an iPhone issue, there's no one better that I've met to discuss it above Matt Galini. So Matt, say hello to everyone out there and let them know how excited you are to be here on Tech Talk 2020.
Hello, Mike. Well, thank you very much for that amazing introduction. That was award-winning, for sure.
We do what we can.
So, yes. My name is Matt Galini. I'm very, very happy to be here. I had a very, very long, exciting day at work, and so I was looking forward to getting out to come up here and hang out for a little bit.
Well, that's cool, because hanging up here in the radio station is a kind of a cool thing. And Matt is an iPhone master. So, Matt, we're going to get into some specifics, but tell me how long you've been a phone guy. They call yourself a phony. Not a phony, not really a phony. You're not a phony.
That's quite all right. Basically, probably about between 4.5 to 5 years. Started off as a little bit of a hobby. Mm-hmm. Always had an interest in technology, and then just came across an article in a magazine about doing phone repair, and that kind of set it off for me.
What version of the iPhone were you involved with at that time?
I started with the iPhone 3G.
Okay, 3G. So all you iPhone masters out there, folks that really are dedicated to the iPhone, and we'll talk about some of the differences between that and an Android. The iPhone folks, if you have questions about your iPhone, really, Matt is an amazing source, and he's here locally on the east side of Cleveland, but I'm sure if you need to drive somewhere or shoot him an email or talk to him via the internet with questions, he can knock those out the park for you. So I actually got to confess, I am an Android guy. So I'm on the other side of the fence there. So tell me, why do you think the iPhones are so popular here in the U.S.?
I would have to say, might sound kind of weird, but they're very, very, very easy to work. You pick it up, and it's very intuitive. You just start making a phone call, scrolling through the apps are very, very easy to use for someone who has never really taken a close look at a piece of technology. Mm-hmm. They say that older folks are very easy to pick up how to use them, as well as very, very young children. It's just an easy device to use and operate.
So older folks out there, if you're listening, the iPhone is the easiest one. So I guess that makes me look a little bit smart because Sanjay's got an iPhone and I've got an Android.
Absolutely.
I win. Yay. I'm sure he'll be thrilled to hear that. So from perspective of an iPhone, though, I mean, I've got kids, and they talked, basically, their communication was an iPhone was a bit more user friendly. I mean, you've used both. You understand both. You said it's clearly it's a simpler to use phone.
Absolutely. I've never had an Android powered device, but I have messed around with them a little bit. Sure. And then again, I always go towards the Apple products because they are extremely easy to use.
Speaking of that, Apple products. So, the Macs and the PC world, those guys fight each other all the time.
Absolutely.
And for anybody out there who's curious about things, the PC world, there are 10 times more PCs than there are Macs out there.
For sure.
But what's interesting is that I was watching today, as I flipped through the dials early this morning, watching some retarded TV or whatever. If you ever see a computer that's being used on a television by Hollywood, mm-hmm. It's always a Mac.
I know.
It's always an Apple. And if you ever see a phone being used, it's always an iPhone.
I know. I don't know why that is. I wonder if maybe Apple had to write a really big check to the studios to make sure that their products are being placed. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
That's really funny to me. But yeah, it's so you get the impression that if you watch any shows or if you get caught in some sort of advertising environment, you go, well, everyone has an iPhone. It's almost like the branding that they were trying to do with Kleenex, because Kleenex is a brand. And
it's a household name, yeah. So it's like, pass me a Kleenex. Well, it's actually pass me a tissue. But
that's right.
Everyone knows the household name. I think that
same with Band-Aid.
Right, absolutely, or Saran Wrap.
That's right.
I think the iPhone, and I don't want to say it was the first smartphone because it wasn't. I used to have a Palm Trio before that.
Nice.
But I just think that the shape of it is very, very, very recognizable. And again, the popularity, at least in my eyes, I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely huge. I mean, that's why most repair shops only prefer to work on Apple products versus other devices.
So do you remember your first phones, your first cellular phone?
Yes, I believe it was like a Sanyo flip phone
Nice.
through like Altel long time ago. The salesperson hand delivered it to me at a car dealership I used to work at.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I remember getting my first BlackBerry.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
I know I'm dating myself out there. But, let's talk about some history here because I think it's really interesting. And just diving into phone history. So you guys realize, all you listeners out there in talent and history folks, that Alexander Graham Bell is the guy that was given credit for creating the telephone. Matt, guess what year that might have been?
Oh boy, I would have to guess. I never paid attention very much in history class.
Shameful.
I know. I'm trying to play catch up on Netflix with documentaries. I would say 1803.
Oh, yeah, you missed by a little bit, but that's fine. It is the 1800s. See, one of the things and one of the goals of our program is to get smarter together. So now you're going to know that he thought of the idea. This is Alexander Graham Bell. He thought of the idea in 1874 and was actually filed a patent in 1876. And do you know the quick phrase that was utilized when the first transmission?
I do not.
Okay. All right. See, Sanjay does this to me all the time, so he puts me in the spot. So the first words that he said, he spoke to his lab mate. It was, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want you." So that was the first message in 1874 that was communicated via what's considered now and evolved into the telephone. So all you kids out there, make a note. So you learn something there. So then we also had those phones that you and I grew up with. Well, maybe I'm a little bit older than you are. That grew up that had the wonderful rotary dial.
Yeah, so we had one at our house growing up. Absolutely.
Sure. And I remember watching. I like it when you watch a movie and it kind of dates itself by the phones that they're using.
Yes, absolutely. Speed dialing was not available in those rotary dials, that's for sure.
And even some of the cool films that we've seen from the 90s or whatever, the Die Hards and those they're still all flip phones.
Yep.
And so anybody can look at a movie. But I like when you see stuff like Casablanca or, Citizen Kane or some of the really older movies and they almost, it seemed like the phones almost had a separate room. You'd go into the parlor and use the
absolutely,
phone
to make the phone call.
Sit down and dial. So that's, of course. But, so we've watched phones evolve and change and become a pocket device. So now initially, obviously, you remember with telephones, we're talking, when I grew up, it was Ohio Bell, and then all the other deregulation things took place. But, I used to sell right out of college for a short period of time. I sold long distance Watts lines. So if you were a customer of mine, if I was able to finagle you enough to purchase this long-distance service from me, you would dial an 800 number, then the number that you were trying to dial, then a 5 or 6-digit code to specify it was you dialing.
Oh, wow.
And then you would pay a significantly discounted rate over the Ma Bell type long-distance charges. So my mom used to reserve Sunday afternoon when she would call her family down in Arkansas because that's when the rates were lower.
Right.
Well,
that makes
all that
sense.
stuff.
You got to be smart.
Oh, yeah. So we've come a long way now. It doesn't cost a dime to call anywhere.
No.
So now another quick question for you, Matt. The first cell phone call was made, cellular devices that use actually satellites. What year might that have been? Just a guess.
Oh, boy. If I had to guess, 1969.
Oh, you missed by 4 years, man. Good job.
Close though? Oh,
yeah,
great.
Woo,
Right.
1973, a guy by the name of Martin Cooper, who was an employee and researcher and executive at Motorola, made a phone call to a buddy of his. And that buddy of his actually worked for a different company, worked for Bell Labs. So it was kind of like a jab.
Yeah.
So that was the first cell phone call, you guys. So everybody write that down, 1973, first cell phone call. So that's pretty cool, too. And then since we talked about iPhones a lot, we're really going to get into some of your iPhone experience in the second half of the show. I found out that on January 9, 2007, is when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone was coming. And it actually arrived on June 29th, 2007. So we're only talking 10 years or nine years
It's a
plus.
10-year anniversary.
Wow. So this phone is, how many, we're version 7.
Right. Yeah, we're on the cusp of, no, actually, we're probably a little bit more than that because they have the 2 versions of the 3s,
Okay.
2 versions of the 4s.
No, wait a minute. Was 3 the first one?
No, there's actually a 2G that not a lot of people have ever seen one of those.
Oh,
So-
that would be me. That would be
Right.
me.
So that takes us to 5, and then 2 versions, technically 4 versions of the 5. And then we're 2 versions of the 6, so that puts us up to, 11?
Well, 11 different releases, but
mm-hmm.
just several numbers. I guess you could go through iPhone 99 one day.
One of these days that will happen, yep.
So how many, we're going to stick on iPhones because, that's what you do, and that's a cool subject. And I did find it a little bit interesting that 52% of the phones in the U.S. are Android.
That is very interesting.
I know. I got that out of a Time Magazine article, so you can debate that one. So, yeah. But over 700 million. Now, Sanjay loves these million and trillions number. 700 million iPhones have been sold since 2007.
Yes.
Holy smoke.
Actually, I heard recently they may have hit 1 billion about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, my gosh.
So depending on when Sanjay read that, I believe they hit 1 billion.
No, I read this. This is my research.
2 weeks ago. Okay. I think 1 billion about 2 weeks ago.
Well, that Time Magazine article that mentioned 52% Android and 43.5% iPhone was from November through surveyed November through February of last year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of current.
Yeah.
And who cares? I don't care. I'm just, I use the phone to do what I need to do. I don't care if it's an iPhone or not, but
right.
I'm a little bit of a rebel. My kids tell me, the kids have iPhones. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get something else. I'm not going to get one. So I'm a little bit of a rebel. That's fine. So we're going to talk a little bit about when we get back from the break. We've got a minute or so here, but I think it's very interesting as to who and how many folks have cell phones. That number is kind of a fun one because it is growing. I don't know if your parents have smartphones?
No, they have flip phones, that is for sure. But my
Okay.
mother, who is 75, has an iPad mini, so
Kick
she's
butt.
heading in the right direction.
Go, mama,
So,
go. That's
yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there that are listening, or I hope a lot of folks out there that are listening are considering moving over or graduating, so to speak, to a smartphone. So we'll talk to that issue right after the break. Again, this is Mike Carswell here on Tech Talk 2020 with Matt. My co-host today is Matt Galini of Mentor iPhone. And we're going to get back into talking about technology right after this. Thank you for listening here on 101.5 FM and 1330 AM WINT and WINTradio.com.
Attention all GM employees, retirees, and suppliers. GM has authorized Pat O'Brien Chevrolet to sell every 2016 car and truck $500 to $1,000 to $2,000 below GMS and supplier pricing, plus you keep all rebates. Hurry to Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
What does fun sound like? Let's ask Lost Nation Sports Park.
It's way back and gone.
Nothing but net. Goal!
It's in the hole.
Back to the end zone. Touchdown.
Down the hatch. Ice cold.
The sound of fun brought to you by Lost Nation Sports Park.
I felt guilty not always being able to take Mom everywhere. She can't drive anymore, but she still needs her independence. Then I heard about Lake Tran's Seniors on the Go program. Pat from Lake Tran visited us in Mom's home, and I went along on her first bus ride and saw the care Lake Tran drivers provide. Mom's got independence, and I've got peace of mind. If you need help with your parents, call Pat at 1-888-LAKE-TRAN to schedule a Seniors on the Go visit in their own home, or visit laketran.com.
In a hurry or having a party? Get a scrumptious larger sheet pizza for the gang at Biagio's Donuts and Pizzeria. Or stop for lunch and savor single slice pizza. Biagio's Donuts and Pizzeria on Vine Street in Eastlake. Biagio's, an East Side tradition.
The Lake County Fair, presented by Pat O'Brien Chevrolet, starts today. It's close to home, budget-friendly family fun. Today's Veterans Day, presented by AT&T. Veterans get free admission all day with a special program at 6, an opening day parade, followed by drag racing. Tomorrow's Seniors Day with a special program beginning at noon. Ages 60 and over get free admission till 3. The Lake County Fair, with support of Lake Health, is at the Paynesville Township Fairgrounds through Sunday. General admission's only $8 and includes rides. Visit lakecountyfair.org.
Welcome back to Tech Talk 2020. We are glad you are with us this evening. This is Mike Carswell. Here sitting in, missing my buddy, but not missing him that much because I got a good partner with me.
Thank you for that, Mike.
That's cool. That's cool. And we're having a good time here talking about iPhones specifically, but also talking about just the evolution of the phone. And I have to tell you a quick story, Matt. So I grew up with, in the 70s, and we had this, two phones in the house was amazing. The cool thing is that when my brother was on the phone talking to some girl and I wanted to hear it, I could quietly pick up the phone upstairs and listen to it and that kind of stuff, and eavesdropping, they call it. And I remember having the days of having two phones in the house, but those are all gone. But the phones were so sturdy then. You remember the I don't know what to call it, the handpiece.
Yes.
It weighed a ton.
Yes, they did.
And the regular phone there was just a phone. So anyway, we're going to talk about phones evolving and everything else. One more quick piece before we go to that. I used to work as a salesman here in Lake County, Ashtabula County, a little bit in Pennsylvania. Did not have a cell phone for the first 5 or 6 years as working in sales. So along the freeway at many of the gas stations, there would be phones that you could use for payphones, and the payphones were car height. So you could pull your car up there and make calls right from your car. So it's funny how we get accommodated. If anybody out there remembers that, raise your hand. So question for you, Matt. What percentage of adult Americans today do you believe have a smartphone now?
I would say maybe 40%, if I had to guess.
Okay, and you're about 5 years behind, which is okay. According to some new statistics at the end of last year, the real deal is 64% of American adults, and I'm guessing an adult's going to be somebody 18 or over, at least in my house, that's how it goes, as it now has a smartphone. Now, I don't even want to throw the teenagers in there, but I have seen kids under 10.
Yes, I had actually one today, 11 years old.
Yeah.
11 years old with a iPhone 5C.
Okay,
so they're starting a lot younger.
A lesser phone, though. A lesser phone.
Right, true, but they're starting somewhere.
So, do you think it's essential at this point? Kids having a phone that early? What's your thoughts?
I believe so. I mean, aside from the fact of making a phone call, just interacting with your friends, through things like Instagrams and Snapchats and that sort of thing, everyone wants to be connected.
Yeah. Technology is communications at an all-time high. Now, in 2011, which is only 5 years ago, the number was 35% of adults actually had smartphones. So I was one of them. Things have changed significantly.
Yes, they have.
I know when my kids started to drive, I definitely wanted them to have a phone. I want to say my son was in 8th grade when he got the phone, and that was simply for making sure we could pick him up on time and everything else. And, that stuff always evolves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very important nowadays. I don't have any kids myself, but kids calling their parents when they get off the bus or if they need a ride somewhere or just to check in. I think it's very, very, very important.
Yeah, we live in a different world. I amaze people sometimes when I tell them, I grew up in the city. Things are fine. I was 6 years old, and I used to walk home from school by myself.
Yeah, kids don't do that nowadays, that's for sure.
I was 6 years old, and I had a house key.
Wow.
So it was a different world. And I don't know, some people say it was pretty rough, but it depends on how you view it. But yeah, it's great to be in a nice neighborhood where you think things are safe, and I did at that time. Apparently my mom did too. She gave a 6-year-old a house key. So
that's unreal.
Oh wow. So anyway, let's talk about some of the things that you've seen on the air. I'm sorry, not on the air. We're on the air now. Some of the things you've seen in your shop that have been kind of amazing for you. First of all, people, obviously, they were coming to see you to get repaired. So tell me about your typical customer. What
Typical
happens?
customer, I would say 9 out of 10 coming in for a crack screen. They dropped it. They stepped on it. It was on their lap when they went to go get out of their car. It meets face first on asphalt, cracks the screen. That's what they come in for. 15-minute repair. Quick in and out. I tested a couple times before and after to make sure everything's good to go. That's pretty routine. With the summer, with other activities like water parks, amusement parks, and going to the beach, obviously water damage has been a big issue over the summertime.
So for all of you who don't know, the water damage theory is you take that phone that's been soaked, that's had a shower, or had a bath, and you put it in a bag or a container of some sort, usually a plastic container, I've been told, with rice.
With rice, right.
And you seal it so it's airtight, and then voila, your device will significantly dry out. I don't know what the rice is supposed to do, but I'm sure it adds something to the atmosphere.
Right. It's supposed to be, I just read an article recently. It says rice is for cooking, not for saving phones. So my advice would be keep your rice for dinner time.
For eating?
Anytime you buy a product with those silica packets, keep them in a jar at home.
Oh, the silica packets.
Silica packets, yes, because those I think work a lot more.
The ones that say do not eat?
Do not eat, yes. Keep those because those have a much better ability of drawing the moisture out of a phone.
Wow.
I had a lady bring me an iPhone that was submerged in so much rice it looked like a little toy from a Cracker Jack box. And so the toy was her actual iPhone.
That's cool.
I opened it up. It's still soaking wet inside.
Oh, it never dried?
It never dried. And the rice was dry as a bone. So keep your rice for cooking.
Well, did she keep it like in an airtight container?
Yeah, it was in a Ziploc bag. Still didn't work.
Oh, wow.
So that's my advice. Keep silica packets when you buy products. Usually you find them in shoes, some consumer products. They're usually in little white envelopes, sometimes in a capsule.
Yep.
Keep them at home. Put them in a jar.
Don't
put
eat
a
'em.
label on it. Do not eat them. And then save them for a rainy day or wherever that you might have a mishap with your phone.
So you put the silica packets in, let's say, a plastic Tupperware container.
Yes,
with
and
a
your phone. And that, from what I've seen so far, it hasn't caught on 100% yet, but that will help draw the moisture out of the phone, and you have a much better chance of saving the phone. Or just leave it. Don't plug it in. Don't try to turn it on. Bring it to me. I open up the device, I let it air out, and then I do what I need to do to try to save your phone.
You don't use a heat gun or anything like that?
Occasionally, if it's really, really wet, I do some mild
hair dryer?
heat gun with a hair dryer, right?
Wow.
But it can be very, very tricky.
That is a job for professionals only, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So I just saw a commercial. I don't know which phone it was for, but I'm assuming it was a Samsung 7 because
Yes, it was.
It's waterproof.
Yes.
And some guy, his name was Mr. Spontaneous, and he jumps, and halfway through the air in this super slow mo commercial, he realizes that his phone's in his pocket.
Yes.
He tries to pull it out before he hits the water, but c'est la vie. It's not good.
No.
So if you can afford one of the phones that Lil Wayne decides to pour champagne on in those commercials
Very
or
good
whatever,
commercial.
that's fine. But for the rest of us small minlings around here, that can't afford that kind of a phone or whatever, the best way to get it dry is the silica packets.
Silica packets.
And then, but we can even blow off the silica packets and just bring it to you.
Right. Just bring it to me. Let me do my thing. I open it up, let them air out, and we'll go from there. And I don't charge people to diagnose phone issues either. So.
Now, actually, I've had a relationship here with Matt for a while, so we've talked a bit, and I'm familiar with his website. So those of you who haven't gone to menoriPhoneRepair.com, take a peek at it. But on his website, he has a wall of shame. The wall of shame, which our board op, Sean, we were talking about our phone problems in the past, and I think Sean would be a candidate for the wall of shame.
All right.
With a phone or two. But tell me about some of the phones you've seen. And if people go to your website, they'll see some pictures of them. But
Yes.
tell me about some of the phones that you've seen and what they've come in, what the circumstance was.
Most recently, which was a very interesting one, which I'll have Sanjay upload the picture soon, gentleman drops an iPhone 6S
Okay.
face down on gravel and then somehow runs it over with a golf cart. So not only was the face of the phone completely destroyed to the point that it even dented a backing plate on the inside of the screen, but
Wow.
it bent the frame on an iPhone 6S, which is a very hard frame to bend.
Did you get a
because
star and put it on this guy's forehead?
I probably should have. So it took almost an hour to fix his phone properly. I had to put his phone in a vise to flatten the frame out so the screen would go in properly. But an hour later, and he was good to go, and you could hardly tell. So that was the most recent, pretty rough, screen or phone repair I have done. But I've seen all different kinds of phone mishaps come into my shop.
How about people dropping them into the toilet? People dropping them?
Yes, it's very common.
You really should not be on your phone as
No.
you're taking a dump.
No. Yes.
Hear that, folks? No phone when you're on the toilet. Just
Most
take
of
a
the-
break. Get a book.
Most of the phones have been post flush, which is good, going in the water in the toilet. I did have an iPhone 5 last year that went in a fairly used porta potty.
Oh,
Yes. So
Oh.
needless to say, it stunk up my office.
Oh.
But it needed a brand new battery and some Febreze, and it was good to go after that.
Oh.
So
I'm sorry I asked.
Yes.
That's just bad.
I've seen everything in my shop.
Wow. Oh, man. So, again, how can people protect their phones? Before they have to come and see someone to repair their phone, how can they avoid seeing you, I guess?
A lot of it is, honestly, a really good case. Don't go cheap with an inexpensive, $5 case that you might purchase online or like a thrift store. What you're holding in your hand is not really a phone. It's a computer.
It's a mini computer.
Computer that happens to make phone calls and take pictures. And actually, a lot of these phones now are high-speed, high-end cameras and a computer all wrapped in one. So why not protect your investment? So there's a lot of cases that I sell in my shop that are very affordable that offer military drop testing, and a good case, tempered glass, I believe is definitely a must-have, and just be a little bit more careful with your device as far as with the placement of it, and that's pretty much all you need.
So don't stick it in the back pocket of your skinny jeans.
No, absolutely not.
Hey, one more quick question before we have to roll here. I wanted to ask you, apparently there's something new coming with the iPhone 7 that's about the screen or something new that you're aware of? You've aware of that? I heard some rumors out.
A couple things. I mean, Apple introduced Force Touch on the 6S. The 7, from what I've seen, looks like dual speakers, no headphone jack, some new case colors, and a slightly different design. That's about it. But
I need wireless headphones to use it.
You never know. Who knows? We'll find out next month. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Well, I bet you are. But me and my good old Android, I have a Samsung 6 something. I don't even know. Who knows? I just pick it up, take pictures, and do my yakking on it. Check my email.
All right. We'll convert you one of these days.
Well, my kids have been trying, but they haven't worked yet. So anyway, we've got a lot of phone information. I'm sure everyone's head out there is busting with it. Matt, why don't you give the phone number to your shop as well?
Sure. It's 440-227-9677. Feel free to call or text. And the website is www.mentoriPhoneRepair.com. And also find me on Facebook under Mentor iPhone Repair.
Sweet. I have found you on Facebook. And also on Facebook, you can find Tech Talk 2020. So if you want to hear this broadcast again, if there's anything you missed, visit our Facebook page at Tech Talk 2020. Tweet at us at Tech Talk 2020. Or obviously, you can listen to WINT Radio next Wednesday. We'll be back. I'm sure Sanjay and I will be cooking up something really delicious to hear about. Well, not necessarily delicious, but technically delicious. So thank you for listening to Tech Talk 2020. Again, this is Mike Carswell with Matt Galini here on 101.5 FM and 1330 AM WINT Integrity Radio. You can also check out our program on WINTradio.com. We are so glad you're here. Have an awesome day.
Pat O'Brien Chevrolet is your commercial truck headquarters. We have dump trucks, chassis cabs, pickups, cargo vans, flatbeds, every kind of truck for every kind of job. If you're a business owner looking for a truck, we got them. Come get them at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
Hiring a landscaper sounds like a good idea. You won't have to do all that work. But will they show up and do a good job and clean up afterwards? Can you trust them around your property? If it's Ward's Lawn Care and Landscape, those answers are all yes. George Ward is one of our community's good guys, and his workers reflect his values with quality and dependability. With Ward's, you can stop working and stop worrying. Visit wardslawncare.com or call 440-942-1912. No work, no worries, Ward's.
Erie's newest and hottest spot is Brew Brothers at Eldorado's Prescal Downs Casino. You'll find signature items featuring steaks, ribs, barbecue, and the best burgers you'll find anywhere. With 30 beers on tap, including specialty, local, and regional craft beers. Amazing food, 30 beers on tap, and the absolute best in live entertainment 7 days a week. Check out our full lineup at PrescalDowns.com. Brew Brothers at Eldorado's Prescal Downs Casino. Open daily at 11 a.m. I-90 exit 27 in Erie, PA. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The next time you have pizza on your mind, remember Pizza Time on the corner of Menor Avenue and Route 306. Pizza Time, where their homemade dough is always worth your hard-earned dough. Listen to win your Pizza Time certificate every Thursday on WINT, AM 1330.
This Friday, my family, they deserve justice.
What is your name?
Ben-Hur. Best-selling author Rick Warren declares Ben-Hur has it all. Heart-stopping action. It's an emotional roller coaster.
You cannot fight them in the streets. There is a way.
Joel Osteen, senior pastor of Lakewood Church, raves. It's spectacular, compelling, and stunning.
Win the race. Win our freedom.
You should have killed me. I will.
Stand and fight, brother!
Ben-Hur.